from the prairie at Redeemer United Church of Christ. Thank you for joining in to our fourth and final Wonder Wednesday episode, and today's episode is Dragonflies. We're going to start today with a little reading of scripture, so if you have a Bible and want to read along, please do. We are at 2 Corinthians chapter 5, and we're just going to read verses 16 and 17. So then, from this point on, we won't recognize people by human standards. Even though we used to know Christ by human standards, that isn't how we know him now. So then, if anyone is in Christ, that person is part of the new creation. The old things have gone away, and look, new things have arrived. So today we're going to be talking about dragonflies. And if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments and we will answer them as you ask them. And now I'm turning it over to Rick and Nancy to give us our lesson.
As Julie said, today we're going to talk about dragonflies. And I gotta tell you, I didn't know a lot about dragonflies, so it's been kind of fun this past week learning some basic things about them. The one thing that I remember the most is that when you see them, you should just be very grateful because they only live as adults for about 1 month. And so your chances of seeing them are 1 month. The rest of the time they spend their life in water. Anyway, I want to tell you a few things. A dragonfly is an insect. And as an insect, all insects have 3 parts: head, thorax, and body. And so that's what dragonflies have. They also have 2 sets of wings. And their wings, as you can see by this illustration, are clear in the middle. You can see through them. And they have many, many, many bright colors. We see them sometimes on the prairie, but not real often. And if you've ever seen a dragonfly, you know it doesn't stay in one place very long. If we see them out here on a leaf and we stand and look at them, they're gone. So it's kind of hard to get a picture. But Rick's going to tell you, he has a friend who's a very good photographer, and dragonfly photography is his specialty. So,
okay, we're going to show you some pictures, but before we do that, we'll just talk a little bit about the dragonfly's eyes. They have 2 big eyes, one on each side of their head, and they're a lot different from what our eyes are like. You know where your eyes are, and you know they're round, but you only see a little bit of your eye. Well, the dragonfly's eyes, if you look at it, they're like big bulges, almost like a ball outside of their face. And each dragonfly eye has thousands of little flat spaces on it that are all looking in different directions. So the dragonflies with their eyes, they can look to the side, they can look forward, they can look up, they can look down, they can see behind them. And that way they can see if they're going after something to eat or if something is chasing them. They have very good eyesight. As Nancy mentioned, we do have dragonflies out here, but they're almost impossible to get pictures of them, and we know for sure they wouldn't just happen to show up today so we can show them to you. So I talked to a friend of mine who does take pictures of dragonflies, and we're going to show you a few of them so you can get an idea of what they are like. And I'm going to hold it close here so hopefully you can see it. And this is one, they all have interesting names, and as Nancy mentioned, they have several parts: the head, the thorax, and the body. And they're very, very colorful. I think in the state of Wisconsin there's over 160 varieties of dragonflies. And this is one of them. It's called a Halloween pennant. And Halloween, when you think of Halloween, what are the colors for Halloween? There's a lot of oranges and blacks. And if you look at their wings, they are transparent, but you do see a lot of orange and black in there. And you see their long body, and then that's the eye of the eye on one side of the head of this dragonfly, the Halloween pennant. And then we've got another one. This one's got a lot of reds in it. And this is called a variegated meadow hawk. Who thinks of these names? Well, variegated, if you look that up in the dictionary, that's a pretty big word, but it means patches of color. And if you look at the body here, there's little patches of red all over the place. There's a little patch of red on the wings. There's a little patch of red on the face. And it's called a meadow hawk because it's kind of like a small version of a hawk flying over the meadow. That's where we see it. And let's look at another one. Oh, that's a colorful one. That is called a blue dasher. And the blue, obviously the whole body looks blue. And dash, that's what they do. They dash all around the prairie. I read somewhere that a dragonfly can fly up to 17 miles an hour. That's faster than you could run. So that is a blue dasher. And one more we'll share with you. This one is called a calico pennant. And the word pennant, that's kind of an odd one too. I always think of that as a flag. And calico, if you've ever heard of a calico cat, they're kind of white and black and orange spots. And what does this one have on its wings? It's got black, it's got orange on its body, black on its body. And again, look at the big eye that's there. So that'll give you an idea of what dragonflies look like. Every one of them probably has different kind of coloring on it, and their names are often given based on the kind of coloring. So when you're outside, even in your garden or on the prairie here at church, keep looking, keep an eye out that you'll see them just dashing around all over the prairie, and you might be lucky to see one of these.
Now, I want to tell you some interesting facts. I thought they were very interesting as I'm reading this. That I wish you were all here so you could tell me if you've ever seen a dragonfly. I hope you have, because they're very unique and special insects. But I'm going to tell you about some of their very good characteristics. First of all, after reading this fact, dragonflies became my new best friend, and I wish they lived in my backyard all the time. Because guess what their favorite food is? Mosquitoes. I do not like mosquitoes because mosquitoes bite me, and then, as all of you probably know, you scratch them and then they can bleed. I hate mosquitoes and I hate mosquito bites. So I wish there were dragonflies that lived all around my house, because then they would eat the mosquitoes and I wouldn't have that problem. So that is one of their favorite foods, but they do eat other insects too. It says that they can eat up to 100 mosquitoes a day, one dragonfly. So imagine if you had them all over your yard, how many, you wouldn't have any mosquitoes. They'd be eaten. As Rick said too, dragonflies have very good eyesight. And I thought this was so cool, because we have to, if we want to look up, we have to move our head. If we want to look down, we have to move our head. If we want to look this way, and so on. A dragonfly can just move his eyes up and down and this way and that way, and they can see all around, which really is helpful, because if there's something nearby that wants to eat them, they can get out of the way really fast. This is another cool thing. Dragonflies are expert flyers. They can fly literally in all directions. They can fly forward and backwards. Imagine flying backwards. They can fly up. They can go down. They can fly in any direction they need to get out of the way of a predator, or to get to the flower that they want, or the bug that they want. So I wish I could do that sometimes. I wish I could see behind me, especially. That would be cool. If someone is trying to sneak up on you or play a trick on you, and you could see them behind there, oh, that'd be neat. Dragonflies can do that. Now this is another interesting fact. Dragonflies, if you're looking for one and you want to see one, you're more likely to see one near a water source. A river, a pond, a stream, a lake, anywhere where there's a big amount of water. And the reason for that is because dragonflies lay their eggs, adults lay their eggs in the water. Eventually those eggs hatch into the second stage of their life, which is called the nymph stage. A nymph is just a little tiny creature that swims. It can live in that nymph stage for up to a year. 1 year it can be like that. Then it matures into the adult that you saw the pictures of. But guess how long it only gets to live as an adult? Remember, 1 year they were swimming around. 1 month. 1 month. That's 30 days. And then they go back to the water and lay some eggs and they die. So they don't have a very long life at all. And so that's why if you're looking for some, they're more likely to stay around water after they become adults. How the ones that we see on the prairie get all the way out here, I don't know, because there's no water source right near here. So it's a lot of flying.
Can I just add one
Yeah.
other thing about that? If you do see them around the water, and very often they'll be sitting on a branch. All these pictures, they were sitting on a little reed or grass sticking out of the water. And if you see them there, they're there for a reason, and they're very likely to come back to that spot. So if you see them and they fly away because they're afraid, if you stand real still and just keep by that same spot, there's a good chance it'll come back and sit there again if you're real quiet. So try that sometime.
And if you're a patient photographer,
Yeah.
that's important to know. If you want to get a picture and they fly away, just stay where you are, because maybe they'll come back.
If you go chasing them, you'll never get them.
Yeah, no, you won't. And the only other thing that I really wanted to be sure to tell you is dragonflies, because many times people and children are afraid of insects. Dragonflies do not bite. They do not harm anybody. And so if you see one, they're very, very friendly insect.
And
So I think that's all.
they're
I have.
pretty to look at. Last
Yeah.
week we talked, was that last week we talked about glitter? 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago we talked
Yeah.
about glitter and we looked at flowers, but here's flying glitter that's all over our nature and our prairie. So keep looking for that glitter.
Yeah.
With that, I think we're ready to turn it over to Mary. She has a craft project for you today dealing with dragonflies, so have fun.
Good morning, friends. Thanks for coming. Good morning. We have already started on our project. We were a little antsy in our pantry this morning. I don't know if you could hear us giggling over here. So we have started our project this morning. First, you're going to need from your Wonder Wednesday kit a little maple sapling seed pod. I don't even know what we call these anymore. We used to call them helicopters when we were kids. I don't know what kids call them today. But anyway, if you don't have a Wonder Wednesday kit, all you have to do is find a maple tree in your yard or in a local park. We have a couple here on our prairie. In fact, we're sitting underneath one right now. And so you just have to find a helicopter or two to help make your dragonfly. So right now, you can see Henry, Emma, and Charlie are busy painting their helicopters.
No, we're not.
So that is the first step, is to take your helicopter, take some paint. The paint we had at home is the washable paint. You can use acrylic if you have it, but be careful that's not washable. If you don't have paints at home, you can use watercolors if you have that. Chalk would work. If you mix chalk with water, that works too. Otherwise, you can have a natural dragonfly and you don't have to paint them. Remember, all dragonflies are different. So yesterday, while they're painting, yesterday we had the neighbors come over and they painted a bunch of helicopters for us. Because once you paint them, they have to sit and dry for a little while so you can work with them easier. Once
they're dry, what you do is you go find a stick. Any kind of stick works. And this is where your tacky glue will come in handy from your Wonder Wednesday kit. But just like last week when we did the leaf pinwheels, this doesn't work as good as hot glue. So if you have a hot glue gun at home, I'd suggest using that. And then it's kind of tricky. It's okay. It's washable. We are ready to go back to school. Okay. Then all you do is you take your glue. No. Let's keep it on the paper plate. Thank you. Just a dab of glue on your stick. And you glue your dragonfly wing on like so.
Not funny.
And I'm going to show you actually my finished ones. Oh, I'm going to show you my finished ones because it makes more sense. So if you can see, you're going to take one seed pod upright and then the bottom seed pod down below to make its wings. And I had to use quite a bit of hot glue to make it work, so I'm not sure if your tacky glue is going to work, but you can try. If you're patient, anything is possible. So have fun making your dragonflies and enjoy. Have a great week.
Thank you, friends, for joining in. This is our last episode of Wonder Wednesdays for the season. Please, if you have any comments, please feel free to put them in the comment section. We'll get back to you. Enjoy your projects, and we're so glad that you joined us this season. Have a blessed year.